Right now, there is a growing idea in the crypto world that not every digital asset is getting equal attention. And when we look closely at market movements, banking discussions, and global payment systems, one name keeps appearing again and again in serious conversations. This is not about hype or short term excitement, but about long term utility and real financial use. Many investors are now asking a simple but powerful question about why certain institutions seem to focus only on one specific digital asset when it comes to cross border payments and future financial systems. And this is where things start to become very interesting. When people say they only want XRP, it reflects a deeper discussion happening in the financial and crypto world, especially around how global payments are changing and what kind of digital assets will actually survive in real world banking systems. The idea behind this statement is not just about price movement or social media trends, but about utility, speed, and how efficiently money can move across borders without delays and high costs. In the traditional banking system, international transfers are slow and expensive, and many institutions have been looking for a solution that can reduce settlement time and improve liquidity management. And this is where XRP has been widely discussed as a potential bridge asset. The reason this conversation keeps coming up is because financial institutions do not look at crypto the same way retail investors do. While most people focus on price charts and short term gains, banks and payment providers focus on efficiency, compliance, and integration into existing systems. In that context, XRP is often mentioned because it was designed with the idea of fast settlement and low cost transactions. This makes it different from many other digital assets that are mainly used for holding value or smart contract applications. The focus here is purely on moving money quickly between different currencies without needing traditional intermediaries. Another important point in this discussion is liquidity. In global payments, liquidity is one of the biggest challenges because money needs to be available instantly in different currencies across different countries. Instead of pre funding accounts in multiple regions, which is expensive and inefficient, financial systems are exploring digital solutions that can act as a bridge between currencies. XRP is often described in this context as a bridge asset because it can help convert value quickly between different fiat currencies. This concept is not about speculation, but about solving a real problem that exists in international banking. At the same time, it is important to understand that the adoption of any financial technology does not happen overnight. Even if a digital asset has strong technical advantages, it still needs regulatory approval, banking integration, and global trust before it can become widely used. This is why discussions around XRP are always mixed with both optimism and caution. Some institutions show interest in its technology, while others continue to wait for clearer regulations. This creates a situation where the asset is constantly being evaluated rather than fully adopted at a global level. What makes this topic even more interesting is the growing attention from financial analysts who believe that the future of cross border payments will not rely on a single system, but on a combination of technologies working together. In this environment, XRP is often included in discussions because of its speed and efficiency, but it is not the only solution being explored. However, the statement they only want XRP reflects the perception among some investors that certain financial corridors or partnerships may be focusing heavily on its technology compared to others. Overall, this first part sets the foundation for understanding why XRP continues to stay in global financial discussions. It is not just about market hype, but about real payment systems, banking efficiency, and the ongoing search for faster and cheaper ways to move money across borders. To understand why the phrase they only want XRP is gaining attention, it is important to look deeper into how modern financial systems are actually built and why banks and payment networks are constantly searching for better settlement solutions. In today's global economy, money does not just move within one country, it moves across many different banking systems, time zones, and currencies. Every step in this process adds cost, delay, and dependency on multiple intermediaries. This is the main problem that financial institutions are trying to solve, and it is also the reason why digital assets designed for fast settlement are being studied more seriously. When banks send money internationally, they normally rely on a system of correspondent banks. This means one bank needs another bank in a different country to complete the transaction. Each layer in this process adds fees and time. Sometimes it can take 2 to 5 business days for money to fully settle. In modern financial markets, this is considered slow and inefficient. Because of this, institutions are exploring new technologies that can reduce settlement time from days to seconds. This is where XRP often comes into the conversation, not as a replacement for banks, but as a tool that could help improve how money moves between them. The idea of using a digital bridge asset is very important here. Instead of holding large amounts of money in different countries, banks can use a system where value is transferred instantly between currencies. This reduces the need for pre funded accounts, which lock up capital and reduce financial flexibility. In simple terms, it means money can move only when needed instead of sitting idle in multiple places around the world. XRP has been discussed in this role because of its design focus on speed and liquidity efficiency. Another reason this topic is becoming more popular is because of global payment companies and fintech systems that are constantly experimenting with blockchain based solutions. Many of these companies are not interested in speculation or trading, but in real settlement infrastructure. They want systems that can handle high volume transactions, remain stable under pressure, and connect different financial networks together. In this type of environment, assets that are fast, low cost, and scalable naturally gain attention. This is why XRP continues to appear in discussions about cross border payment modernization. However, it is also important to understand that interest does not always mean full adoption. Financial systems are very slow to change because they deal with regulation, security, and global trust. Even if a technology shows strong advantages, it still needs to go through testing, partnerships, and legal approval before it becomes widely used. This is why XRP is often described as being in a potential use case stage rather than a fully dominant global solution. Institutions may study it, test it, or integrate parts of its technology, but large scale adoption takes time. The phrase, they only want XRP, can also be interpreted in another way. It may reflect the belief among some investors that certain financial corridors or pilot programs are showing strong preference for XRP's technology in specific use cases. These could be focused on remittances, liquidity bridging, or fast settlement between select currency pairs. While this does not mean the entire financial system is moving in one direction, it does show that XRP continues to remain part of serious financial experimentation. In simple terms, this second part highlights the gap between traditional banking systems and modern digital payment solutions. On one side, there is a slow but stable system built over decades, and on the other side, there are new technologies trying to make that system faster and cheaper. XRP sits in the middle of this discussion as one of the tools being evaluated for efficiency, and that is why conversations around it continue to grow in the financial world. As the discussion around XRP continues, one of the most important areas to understand is how financial institutions actually test and evaluate new payment technologies before fully using them in real systems. Banks, payment companies, and liquidity providers do not make sudden decisions based on trends or public interest. Instead, they carefully study performance, cost efficiency, and compliance before integrating any new system into their existing infrastructure. This is why the interest around XRP is often seen in stages rather than full global adoption all at once. In many cases, financial technology companies work on pilot programs where they test blockchain based solutions for specific use cases, such as cross border transfers or liquidity management. These tests are usually limited in scope, meaning they are only applied to certain corridors or selected partners. The purpose of these trials is to check how fast transactions settle, how stable the system is under pressure, and how well it connects with existing banking networks. XRP has often been discussed in this type of environment because of its ability to settle transactions quickly and reduce friction between different currencies. One of the key ideas connected to this discussion is the concept of on demand liquidity. In traditional systems, banks need to keep money pre funded in different countries to ensure smooth transactions. This ties up large amounts of capital and reduces efficiency. A system that allows liquidity to move instantly between currencies can significantly improve financial operations. XRP is frequently mentioned in relation to this concept because it is designed to act as a bridge between different fiat currencies without requiring long settlement times. At the same time, it is important to understand that adoption in the financial world depends heavily on regulation and compliance. Every country has its own rules regarding digital assets, and financial institutions must follow strict guidelines before using any new technology. This means that even if a system is technically efficient, it still needs to pass regulatory standards before being widely implemented. This is one of the main reasons why the adoption process for blockchain based payment systems takes time and moves carefully. Another important factor is integration with existing financial infrastructure. Banks and payment providers already use complex systems that are deeply connected across global networks. Replacing or upgrading these systems is not simple. Instead, new technologies must work alongside existing systems without causing disruption. This is why most blockchain payment solutions are designed to complement traditional systems rather than fully replace them. XRP's role in discussions often focuses on how it can connect different financial networks more efficiently rather than completely changing the entire system. There is also a growing interest from fintech companies that are exploring ways to improve remittance services and international money transfers. These companies focus on reducing fees and increasing speed for customers who send money across borders. In these areas, digital settlement solutions become very attractive because they can reduce processing time from days to seconds. XRP is often mentioned in these discussions because of its ability to support fast and low cost transfers in theory, especially in high volume environments. However, even with all this interest, it is important to remain realistic about how financial adoption works. No single asset or technology becomes dominant overnight. The financial system evolves slowly, and multiple solutions often exist at the same time. Some corridors may test one system while others use different technologies depending on their needs. This is why the phrase, they only want XRP, should be understood more as a reflection of interest and discussion rather than complete global replacement of existing systems. Overall, this part shows that XRP continues to be part of serious financial exploration, especially in areas related to liquidity, cross border payments, and settlement efficiency. While full adoption depends on many factors like regulation, infrastructure, and trust, the ongoing interest from financial institutions keeps XRP in an important position within the evolving landscape of global payments. As the conversation around XRP develops further, it becomes important to focus on how real world adoption actually scales in global finance and why certain technologies take longer to reach full implementation, even when they appear highly efficient on paper. Financial systems are built on trust, stability, and long term reliability. And because of this, institutions move very carefully when introducing any new form of payment infrastructure. Even if a system offers faster settlement or lower cost, it must still prove that it can handle global demand consistently without failure or risk. One of the biggest challenges in global payments is interoperability, which simply means the ability of different financial networks to communicate with each other smoothly. Today's financial world is made up of thousands of banks, payment providers, and clearing systems, all operating under different regulations and technical standards. Connecting these systems is not simple, and this is where blockchain based solutions are often discussed. XRP is frequently included in these discussions because it is designed to act as a connector between different currencies and financial systems rather than functioning as a standalone financial product. Another important aspect is scalability. Global payment systems handle millions of transactions every day, and any technology that aims to be part of this system must be able to handle extremely high volumes without slowing down or becoming expensive. This is one of the reasons why financial institutions do not rush into full adoption. They test systems under different conditions, including high traffic, currency volatility, and cross border complexity. XRP is often analyzed in this context because its structure is built for fast settlement and high throughput, which are essential for real time financial operations. At the same time, financial institutions also focus heavily on risk management. Any system that moves money across borders must ensure that funds are secure, traceable, and compliant with international laws. This includes anti money laundering rules, identity verification standards, and reporting requirements. Because of these strict conditions, even advanced technologies must go through multiple layers of approval before they are considered safe for large scale use. This is why even widely discussed digital assets take time to become fully integrated into global systems. Another factor that influences adoption is competition between different technologies. The financial industry is not focused on one solution only. Instead, multiple companies and networks are developing their own systems for faster and cheaper payments. Some focus on stablecoins, others on private blockchain networks, and others on traditional upgrades to existing systems. In this competitive environment, XRP is one of several options being evaluated, especially for cross border settlement efficiency. This is why discussions often compare different technologies rather than focusing on a single winner. It is also important to understand that real adoption often happens quietly in the background. While public attention focuses on price movements or news headlines, most financial integration work happens through partnerships, testing environments, and back-end infrastructure upgrades. These developments are not always visible to the public immediately, but they play a key role in shaping long term usage. This is why some investors believe that interest from institutions may not always be reflected instantly in market activity or public announcements. The phrase, they only want XRP, can therefore be seen as a reflection of how certain discussions emphasize its role in specific financial use cases, particularly where speed and liquidity efficiency are important. However, it does not mean that the entire financial system is shifting toward one solution exclusively. Instead, it highlights that XRP continues to remain part of serious conversations around improving global payment systems. In summary, this part shows that adoption in the financial world is not about hype or popularity, but about testing, regulation, scalability, and long term reliability. XRP remains part of this evolving process, especially in areas where fast settlement and cross border efficiency are being explored, but its role is still shaped by careful evaluation and gradual integration within a much larger financial ecosystem. When we bring everything together, the discussion around XRP and the idea that they only want XRP becomes less about emotional interpretation and more about how modern financial infrastructure is evolving step by step. Global finance is not shifting in a sudden or dramatic way, but rather through continuous upgrades, trials, and integrations that aim to improve speed, reduce cost, and increase efficiency in cross border transactions. In this environment, XRP is often positioned in conversations related to liquidity bridging and fast settlement, but it exists within a much larger system of financial technologies that are all competing and cooperating at the same time. The reality is that international money movement has always been one of the most complex parts of the financial world. Every transfer between countries involves currency conversion, regulatory checks, banking intermediaries, and settlement delays. These layers create inefficiencies that become more visible as global trade and digital commerce continue to grow. Because of this, financial institutions are constantly exploring new systems that can reduce friction in these processes. Blockchain based payment solutions are one of the most discussed innovations in this space, and XRP often appears in these discussions due to its focus on fast and low cost settlement mechanisms. However, it is equally important to understand that no single technology operates in isolation when it comes to global finance. Even if a system is efficient, it must still integrate with existing banking networks, comply with international regulations, and gain long term institutional trust. This means that adoption is always gradual and layered rather than immediate. Financial institutions typically test multiple systems at the same time, compare performance, and slowly decide which solutions fit best for specific use cases such as remittances, liquidity management, or cross border trade settlements. Another key point is that financial innovation is not a winner takes all environment. Multiple systems can exist and serve different purposes within the same ecosystem. Some technologies focus on stable value transfers, others on smart contract functionality, and others on payment optimization. XRP is often discussed in the context of payment efficiency and bridging currencies, but it is part of a broader landscape where different solutions may serve different financial needs depending on region, regulation, and institutional preference. The phrase "they only want XRP" can therefore be understood as a reflection of selective interest in specific use cases rather than universal global adoption. It highlights how certain financial discussions or pilot programs may show strong focus on XRP's capabilities in particular areas, especially where fast settlement and liquidity efficiency are required. But at the same time, it does not represent the full picture of global financial adoption, which is far more diverse and multi layered. Looking forward, the future of global payments will likely be shaped by a combination of technologies working together rather than a single dominant system. Traditional banking infrastructure will continue to evolve, while digital assets and blockchain based solutions will gradually integrate into specific areas where they provide clear advantages. In this ongoing transformation, XRP remains one of the frequently discussed options in the context of improving speed and efficiency in cross border transactions, but its long term role will depend on regulation, adoption, and real world utility at scale. Financial disclaimer: this content is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial or investment advice. It does not recommend buying, selling, or holding any cryptocurrency or financial asset. Always do your own research and consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Cryptocurrency markets are highly volatile and involve risk. If you enjoyed this breakdown, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more simple and clear XRP updates and analysis.